Hi, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, Kurdish female fighters are battling ISIL, but their struggle is far greater. Equal rights for women and the Kurdish people. But are they winning? There's so many ways to join in that conversation right here on the stream. Malika Bilal is our digital producer. She knows all of them.
Right.
But which one are you going to share right now?
Well, my new favorite, of course, is the Stream app. And today there are lots of great facts in there. There's a map of the areas we're talking about in question on today's show. There's also a gallery of pictures, a little behind the scenes of our topic today. So you can check that out by downloading it. And of course, you can also join our conversation by using #AJStream.
And Twitter isn't the only way you can be part of the conversation. Have a look here on my laptop. I'm at stream.aljazeera.com. We love to see you make comments as well. So you click on the little widget here, record a video, you can press this here and then allow it. It takes a little while to do that. And then think about what you want to say. You've only got 30 seconds to make a point. There you go. And in 30 seconds, you too can be in the stream.
Hi, I'm Lauren Azad, and I'm looking to see an independent Kurdistan in my lifetime, and I'm in the stream.
Thousands of Kurdish female fighters are battling the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, or ISIL, but they're not just wielding guns, they're also wielding feminist ideas. And they're among about 30 million ethnic Kurds who are spread across Turkey, Iran, Syria and Iraq. They have a semi-autonomous government in Iraq, but haven't achieved such recognition elsewhere. With different communities in different countries, their goals and tactics don't always align. But that changed when ISIL dug into Kurdish areas of the Middle East. Kurdish fighters are now united against a common enemy. And that includes women who are at the front lines in Syria, on the battlefields in Iraq. And they're following a very long tradition of Kurdish female fighters hailed for their bravery in war. Joining us to talk about the women's social and political concerns, we have MUTLU CIVIROGLU. He is a Kurdish affairs analyst. In London, RUWAYDAH MUSTAFA is a British Kurdish blogger. In Sulaymaniyah, a city under the Kurdish regional government in Iraq, BIZA BARZO is an independent aid worker. And in London, NAMMI is a former commander in the Peshmerga, as a Kurdish fighting group, and the executive director of the Iranian and Kurdish women's rights organization. It's great to have you in the mix, everybody. Let me start with RUWAYDAH. RUWAYDAH, how would you describe the women fighting units?
In terms of women fighting, I'd like to just begin by highlighting that Kurdish women in the region compared to Arab women are the only female force actively fighting ISIS, whether they're in Syria or Iraq, and I think that's a huge achievement for women itself. However, I'm afraid that the West tends to paint a very rosy and glamorized view of women in the region. It neglects that patriarchy is still alive within those societies, regardless of whether women are fighting equally side by side with men. Sure. And I hope that in today's discussion, I hope we highlight that patriarchy is something that women face, and just because women are allowed to fight, it doesn't mean that sexism and inequality has ended for us.
Sure, and you started that conversation off right there. For you, BIZA, I'm just going to show people a couple of the pictures that you sent us. This is you with a fighter, and when you were with the women's unit, what did you discover?
I was interested in researching about Peshmergas in general, but at that time I was focusing on the female Peshmergas. What I discovered was, I was first of all fascinated by their strength, and first before getting involved with them, or before interacting with them, more accurately said, you would think, oh, it's men fighting this battle, it's only men in this, and this is not something for women. And especially from a foreign point of view, this is very easily, this is easily understood. But as you interact with them, you see that they're just as passionate about it. They're just as passionate about it. They have the same motivations, they have the same aim. And like
BIZA, what were they doing?
They were training at that time when I saw them. They were training to go out to war. And there were different places where I found them at.
Okay.
But the main one is in Suleymaniye, where the Kurdish Peshmergas are at, the Kurdish female Peshmergas in southern Kurdistan. So they're all gathered there. They have their trainings there, just similar to men's trainings. It's exactly the same, actually.
Okay. Malika.
There's a conversation going on online that I want to share with our guests. And Diana, I'll direct this to you. This is the first tweet. This is from Azzedine, and he says, Kurdish women fighters are a new symbol. Women can fight. He got a response from people who disagreed with him a bit. Tara says Kurdish women fighters are not a new notion. They've been around ever since the Kurdish resistance has existed, really. So, Diana, can you explain and help elucidate this conversation in your view based on your own personal history?
In the history of Kurdish people, there has been lots of women that been a Peshmerga, but as a movement that Peshmerga have its own command, and also that the Peshmerga have their own commanders, their own battalions, that it wasn't like that before. So since 3 decades ago, actually, this happened more and more. And at that time, maybe 3 decades ago, we hadn't got social media, so people were not aware about that. And now, due to the social media and lots of publicity, people around the world are aware of that. So, in my opinion, Peshmerga, of course, they are strong women who are in the front line fighting. And they now it's the matter of life and death, but fighting for the dignity of their country, dignity of women, for saving women, saving their country, saving people in the country. This is very powerful act that's really important to see, because comparing around the world, even in a huge militant organization, even in Western countries, women are not in the front line. We could see that even when the IS attacked Mosul, it was the Iraqis army, they ran away. So Peshmerga women stand very strong to defeat IS. This is something really that gives a different picture of women, give a different way of women fighting for their dignity, for their human rights, for their safety, for the family's safety, for their country.
Diana, we spoke to the spokeswoman for Colonel Nahida Ahmed Rashid, and she is the leader of the female fighters of the Kurdish Peshmerga in Iraq. And we wanted to know how do her female units, how do they prepare for battle? This is what she told us.
Colonel Nahida always meets with the fighters. She gives them advice on a number of things. For example, she always tells her fighters to keep an extra bullet handy. That way, in the event that they are about to be captured by ISIL fighters, they can use the bullet to kill themselves.
MUTLU, for us as outsiders, it feels like this is incredibly egalitarian. Can you enlighten us as to how this fits into the Kurdish philosophy on life?
I think the philosophy lies deep in Kurdish society. So if you look at Kurdish society, the status of women are comparatively higher than their neighbors. So this is, you can see Westerners writing books 100 years ago, 150 years ago, talking about how Kurdish women are really free. They are in charge of the home inside, although the outside man seems to be the boss, but indeed the women are like that. And in Kurdish history as well, many rebellions, the women, they always took lead, they fought alongside their husbands. So they village head, Mukhtar, they acted like village Mukhtar. And there is a history in Ottoman time, there is a black Fatma Resh, a Kurdish leader. She comes all the way from a Kurdish city to Istanbul to complain to Padishah, to Sultan. So the history is indeed full of Kurdish leaders having. I agree with Tara that this is nothing new, but I also agree with the other viewer that it's new because people start to know, like I say, with the Kobani, when they see women fighting in the front line and the cameras, Al Jazeera is there, the other channels are there, millions of people all over the world, they first time see that really this is happening. So indeed many people are starting to realize that the women are taking, but so really it goes way longer. And the struggle, when you look to Iran, in Turkey, and most famously in Rojava, in Syria. So the Kurdish women are there. So they have all been there for decades. They have been fighting, but the climax is what's happening in Rojava with YPJ example.
All right, so just give me a moment. I'm going to go straight across the community, but via my laptop here, because if you look to see, these are the areas, the dark brown areas here that have Kurdish populations in, and then you see where they are in Syria, Iraq, Iran. It gives you an idea of the idea that women going to battle is quite an unusual phenomenon for most of those countries. Malika.
Right, so taking that, then we have this question from Twitter. Zainab says, do they receive the same respect from men in their hometowns as they do on the battlefield? So Ruwaydah, I want to direct that one to you, particularly in Iraq or in the northern region, in Erbil. When women go back home, do they get the same level of respect and equality?
I think I want to touch on a different topic to begin with. First of all, each part of Kurdish history is different depending on where you are. So the history of Kurdish women fighting alongside men in Rojava is very different to that of South Kurdistan. It's very different to north of Kurdistan, and we can't really paint a rosy picture of all the regions, because the experiences that women have had in Rojava and North Kurdistan tends to be very equal. They've fought alongside with men, like Tara said on Twitter, for decades, and it's a notion that we've known for a long time. Whereas where I'm from, in South, we have not had the same type of equality on the battlefield. In fact, in the beginning of the war against ISIS, many women complained that they were not allowed to be sent to the front lines simply because they were women, and the commanders were afraid that ISIS would take advantage of them and use them as a way to weaken the morale of Kurdish forces. So my point being, I think it would be good if we can all differentiate between the experiences of women in different parts of Kurdistan, because as we are aware...
Ruwaydah, but Malika was very specific. She said in Iraq. Give us an example in Iraq.
In terms of how they're received, I tend to monitor social media as part of my research, and I have seen a lot of negative comments in terms of whether they're good fighters or not, and it's widespread on various social media sites. But the type of pride and respect that women tend to receive, they're usually for women who are in Rojava, who are directly battling ISIS, who are on the front lines with men. They're received very well, whereas the Kurdish Peshmergas in South Kurdistan, they are also received well, but I would argue that they're not always on the front lines, so they are perhaps marginalized to a large extent.
I think it's also related to the internal dynamics. Like Ruwaydah is trying to make a point, the society is really different, culturally, socially, politically, pretty different. When you look at the Kurds from Turkey...
Yeah, so you can look at my map again, because you can see this dark brown area here, and just like, of course, Turkey is not going to be the same as Syria in Iraq and Iran. So we're talking about different cultures in different parts of this region.
Right. So among the Kurds of Turkey and Kurds of Syria, it's more liberal. It's more leftist ideology. Yeah. So the women, the egalitarian view are more strong. Where in Iraqi Kurdistan, for example, especially in Erbil and around Erbil, it's more conservative, more traditional. So women have a certain role. So when we come back to the respect issue, I think these women fighters, they are receiving, pretty strong respect and by the society. Society take pride seeing their mothers, their daughters, their wives taking a lead, defending their homeland, fighting against ISIS. So in many times when I talk to commanders, you see a woman leading Kobani, thousands of male soldiers under her. So people do not feel anything inferior. On the contrary, they feel very, very pride, because they believe that that woman is there because she deserves, she had the skills, not solely she is woman.
BIZA, what did you want to add?
I want to add, I would understand why you would argue that in northern Iraq people are more conservative, but on the other hand, also, as I've been researching about these women, while some of a lot of occupations in Kurdistan are not suitable for women as they are for men, being a Peshmerga is not one of them. I have been interacting with women who have had their daughters with them and who would push their whole families, the female ones, to be on the battle with them. I was writing a story about a woman. Her daughter was 8 months old pregnant. And I was curious. I was like, why? She's your daughter. Don't you care for her? She'd be like, she should care as much for her nation as any of us do. So until she gives birth, she is on the battle fighting.
So BIZA, what do you think drives the women fighters that you came across? What drives them? What motivates them? What inspires them?
I think one main motivation is they're basically true humanitarians. They're disgusted by what's been done to them, and beside that, I could say that it's sort of a sense of resent of what's happening around us. Every day we have bodies coming back to us. Every day we have neighbors dying, family, fathers, brothers, and it makes us, we need to protect also. We need to protect this nation and our families. We have the same role as them. So I think this is what drives them. Also, if you think about it, it's a fear of that if ISIS takes over, we will lose our complete freedom. So as much as we have now, we will even lose more then. So it's fighting for freedom as well.
You're painting a picture of some of the fighters, so I want to share another one. This is shared with this stream on Twitter. This person says, I'm Kurdish, and this is my cousin defending Kobani from the first day till now. She shared a picture with us that she says it's her cousin. She goes on to say she left northern Kurdistan for Kobani when she was needed there more than other places. So MUTLU, staying in Kobani, staying in, I hear you, but I just want to use this to reference this next comment we got from someone on Facebook. Staying in this region in Kobani and Rojava, Kanye says certain female fighters should go on to politics. There's unlimited potential to get the representation of women on a national level. So that is happening in that region where we just saw the picture of the fighter in Kobani.
Yeah, I think I want to emphasize that there is a role given to the women in Middle East. These Kurdish women are trying to break this traditional role. The women role is that you have to sit at home, make children, and serve your husband. So many people see this, as a way of refusing this traditional law. So in a way, by coming to the front, showing their struggle, women shows freedom of expression. How
are they showing that specifically, though, in Kobani? What's going on there?
In Kobani, for example, by defending their homeland from invaders, and invaders that coming from Afghanistan, from Tunisia, from Algeria, from Chechnya. So first of defending their ancestral land, the land that they were born, the land that they think belonged to them. And secondly, to stand beside their fellow male fighters by fighting. So the example we just seen. So many volunteers, many educated people from Turkey, from other parts of Kurdistan, they pour into Kobani to defend because they see it's their nationalistic duty, their duty as a human, their duty as a women to be there and defend. So in a way, it's just to say society that I exist. My role is here. You can in the Middle East. You can restrict me. You can restrict me to the home, but I don't. I break the rules you put on me. This is how I express myself.
RUWAYDAH, go ahead.
Right. I respect that. That's a perception you have, but I think if you also consider that in South Kurdistan, for example, you still have high levels of inequality, domestic violence, FGM still continues to exist, and you've got other societal ills that target women, and that's a huge issue. And just going back to the picture that was tweeted, that the respective Peshmerga, she went from North Kurdistan to Rojava. Again, going back to what I said previously, the women in Rojava and North Kurdistan, they are setting a precedent in Middle East. They are highlighting how brave and courageous and fearless they are, but unfortunately, that does not necessarily translate into equality of the battlefield. On the battlefield, they are fighting side by side with men. They are not only courageous, they're the only female force fighting ISIS. You have multiple countries who are Arabs that also see ISIS as a threat, but you don't have Arab women fighting, yet you have Kurdish women on the front lines. However, I am concerned that once the war with ISIS is over, that's not going to translate into equality on a political level, on a societal level in South Kurdistan in particular.
Ruwaydah, take a breath for a moment, because I want to bring back in Diana. Diana, you have actually fought as a Peshmerga. What did you want to bring in from your experience that is relevant to where we're going right now with this conversation?
Yes, what is important, what drives women to become a Peshmerga, you know, war is not something that not any Kurdish, not anyone else will wish for. And personally, I hate gun, I hate war, because many people, many innocent people will be victim of war. Many women will be victim of a conflict by being raped and lots of other problems. Poverty is another one. But what drives us to become a Peshmerga, it is when, you know, you never hear any Peshmerga from Kurdistan to attack Tehran, to attack Ankara, to attack, I don't know, Damascus or Baghdad. It is what we have been attacked. It is what Kurdish people have been divided between 4 countries. And it is when the government, the state of those countries actually try to oppress Kurdish people. When I'm saying oppressing...
Yes, so Diana, I want to focus on this particular thing because we're talking about the women's role in that political fight that you're having right there. What do they... I'm just wondering if this is a milestone. Let me show you this picture here. It helps me articulate it a lot better here. This woman is Rihanna. She is known as the Angel of Kobani. She is known for her bravery and for fighting ISIL. I'm wondering whether this becomes a milestone for where the women of the region are going in terms of getting a little bit more equality and then maybe being respected more. Ruwaydah, you say no.
Yeah, in terms of respect, I think the Peshmerga and women Peshmerga, in my own experience, we had lots of respect within community. People really...
But then you go home, Diana, and then what happens?
I don't hear you properly.
Then you go home, and then what happens? Respect on the battlefield, respect at home?
When is going home?
Yeah, when you go home.
I mean, this is home. Peshmerga, when we were Peshmerga, unless you physically or mentally are not ready to continue, then still you are Peshmerga. I mean, home is where you are. And when are you going home? In my opinion, these women who have been Peshmerga, they will stay strong and they will affect other women as well.
All right, Diana, take a breath. I've got 1 minute and 3 guests who want to chat. This is going to be very difficult mathematics. Let me start with Mutlu.
I think it's related to the philosophy that dominates Kurdish political life. Let's say in Turkey and Syria, this is nothing new. And women are receiving respect in every field of the society, political life. You can see Kurdish mayors in Turkey, Kurdish parliamentarians, and in Rojava the same, because it's different. The politically dominates that. I want to say that.
Malika, what do you want to leave us with?
I'll leave this with this tweet. It's a Kurdish proverb. A lion is a lion, whether male or female.
Ooh. Interesting. All right, thank you very much to our online community for being part of this conversation, to Mutlu, Diana, Ruwaydah, and also BIZA as well. We are taking that conversation online. If you want to join in, #AJStream. Now, on the next show, Malika is off to where? Where are you going?
The South by Southwest conference.
All right, so if you see someone who looks like Malika, it will be
me.
All right. And then tomorrow, Omar Badr will be sitting in for Malika, and we will be talking about resettling Syria's refugees. We'll be finding out where the refugees are going around the world and how they're adapting. See you soon. Thanks for watching.